All right, it looks like we have everyone in. So I'd like to call to order the first meeting we've had in quite some time of the City of Springfield's Animal Advisory and Hearing Committee. My name is Gladys Oyola Lopez. I'm the city clerk for the City of Springfield. And in my capacity as city clerk, it's my responsibility to chair these meetings or have a designee. This will be the first meeting that I chair of the committee. So I ask not only that you bear with us and with me, as I am not only the host, but I'm doing the Zoom portion of the meeting. The date today is Wednesday, May 24th, and the Animal Advisory and Hearing Committee was established and is conducted in accordance with Chapter 110 of the City of Springfield ordinances. We have an attorney representing the City of Springfield in the form of Robert Shuchuk that has joined us. These are administrative sessions for your information, and they are informal, which means that you're not hampered by the rules of evidence. However, I would like everyone present to please note that you will be testifying under oath if you are either a complainant or the respondent. Each party is going to be given the opportunity to present their case, and after each party states their case, they will be able to ask questions of the other party. I do ask, though, that you do not interrupt the other party, as you will be given the opportunity for rebuttal. That being said, we do understand that there may be a history associated with each individual case. However, I'd like to stress that you focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the committee will hold an open deliberation, so everyone else will be muted. During these deliberations, the public cannot participate. If the commissioners do have additional questions, you may answer that question, but no other information will be heard, and the committee's decision will then be rendered. At this point, I'm going to take a roll call of the members present. Commissioner Edwards.
Present.
Commissioner Fleming.
Present.
Commissioner Johns. Absent. Commissioner Landry.
Present.
And myself, Gladys Oyola Lopez, present. The first item on the agenda is the meeting format. It has been emailed to all of the commissioners, and I'd just like to take this opportunity, if any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the meeting format, or if they need an additional copy emailed out to them, I can do that at this point. But what I would like is for us to all agree that going forward, this is going to be the run of show that we're going to use for each of the hearings going forward. So if I can get a motion from one of the committee members to accept the template that was emailed to them previously.
Motion so made.
Motion made by Commissioner Edwards. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Landry. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is for the dangerous dog hearing for Walmart Boston Road.
I'm sorry. I think should it be roll call on Zoom, the voting?
The individual roll call?
Yeah, just to make it.
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Attorney Shuchuk. So I'm going to go around and ask for an individual roll call of votes. Councillor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johns? Absent. Commissioner Landry?
Yes.
Yes. And then yes for me. And if you see me looking this way, it's because I have someone taking the minutes for me as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is for the dangerous dog hearing at Walmart Boston Road. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on this? And if I would actually ask that the complainants go first. And
hi, our computer just caught up to everything. Hello.
Hi, so the first thing I'm going to ask you is are you speaking on the matter of the Walmart Boston Road? No.
Wait, what? No.
Okay,
this is
the animal. Hearing. Yeah, this is the dog hearing, but there's several that are on the agenda. So the first thing that we've just called is the Walmart Boston Road.
Okay, that has nothing to do with me.
Okay, so then I'm going to just mute you and then we're going to see if there's anyone that is here to speak to that matter. Thank you. Again, if there's anyone to speak to the matter of the Walmart Boston Road dangerousness hearing, if you could raise your hand in the queue and I can unmute you. Anyone at all? And Renee, if Renee from TJ O'Connor, if you'd like to speak to this matter, even if we do continue it, I'd like to actually hear what the complaint is.
Okay. So the Walmart Boston Road incident is a dog who was brought into Boston Road Walmart and attacked a woman there. This is the same dog. You'll see two members of the Wong family are here. This dog and a later incident, but before this hearing, also attacked a member of their household who was running down the street. So they are here for that same dog. They're just not familiar with that incident. We have on record at least 3 bites for this same dog. And all of them are quite significant bites. They're not minor, like nip on the hand. At least one required multiple sutures. And I'm not sure of the nature of the treatment for the victim of the Walmart Boston Road bite, but it sounded like it was pretty significant as well. We use a scale, like a sliding scale that's easy to track. And all of these bites have been Dunbar 4, which is a multiple bite incident resulting in multiple punctures or tears. So that means the dog didn't just nip once and let go. It went back and bit a second time or a third time.
Can you identify the dog just so we know? Because you're just saying the dog.
So the owner of the dog has presented a different name for the dog on several occasions. The dog's name is Z Blue. And I did get a photo from the owner of the dog. So I do know that this dog has been interacted with on multiple occasions with our officers. So this is the dog in question. And he is definitively the dog who bit the Wong family and one other individual. It's just that in the Walmart incident, he referred to the dog as Mr., but the description matches.
Okay.
And I did ask the owner of that dog, and he confirmed that they were the same dog.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So Officer Robichaud has confirmed that the Wong family is here on the same dog. So at this time, if anyone from the Wong family would like to speak, the only thing that I'm going to ask is, if you do, I'm going to administer the oath right before you provide your testimony. So if you raise your hand, whoever would like to go first, I'll unmute you.
So are we on to that next item?
No, it's the same one. The Walmart, it's the same dog.
Okay, I thought they were different. I think they were different. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, same dog, but unnamed, I guess, in this. Mr. Wong, if you can unmute yourself. Thank you. So, Mr. Wong, I'm going to ask you do you declare and affirm that the evidence that you are about to give is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Hi, how are you? My name's David. I'm the parent for Joseph, who was attacked during a training run around the school area. He had endured 9 stitches, and I believe we had submitted a report because we weren't sure if we were going to make this meeting. So I just want to make my presence known that this dog, pet, what animal, pit bull, whatever you want to call it, does have a tendency for, well, he attacked my son, which was unprovoked. So I'm going to end my statement there. Maybe elaborate later on.
I believe the commission members were provided with a copy of your statement, the written statement, including the photos that you provided. I can screen share if you'd like. If the commissioners need a refresher or don't have it at their fingertips, I can certainly screen share at least the photographs.
I'd recommend you screen share it, Madam Clerk.
Okay, one moment. Okay, so you're seeing here is the letter that was sent from the Wong family to the Animal Advisory Commission. Mr. Wong, I'm going to just scroll down so that you can see, and maybe you can narrate what these are for us.
These are images of my son's wrist. Had a few lacerations. He had two attacks. The first one was on the thigh, then afterwards he went after his wrist.
Okay. And is there anyone else present that would like to provide any further testimony on this specific dog? Okay, I'm going to ask again if there's anyone else that would like to provide evidence.
Is the owner's not here of the dog of Z Blue?
It does not look like the owner's here. Is there anyone else that is here on behalf of the dog Z Blue, also known as the Walmart dog? It looks like there is not anyone here in the queue either waiting. So the owner of the dog was given notification from Thomas J. O'Connor in the form of a certified letter, I believe. Is that correct? Yes.
And he also received a copy in the regular mail as well.
Hold on one second. There is somebody else in the queue that just logged in. So I'm going to see if this is. Okay, I'm just admitting two individuals. We are still on agenda item number 2, which is the Walmart Boston Road animal. So if you're not here for that, I am going to put you on mute. Are you either of the two people who have just signed in? Are you here for that specific hearing?
No. You said Walmart? No.
No. Okay. So in the interim, I'm just going to mute you. We're still on that hearing. Hearing no other testimony for that specific case, I'd like to actually take this time to see if the commissioners have any question of either the law department or Thomas J. O'Connor, Officer Robichaud specifically.
I do not.
No. Counselor Edwards?
No.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question of the law department. Given the fact that the owner of the dog is not in the hearing, what would the committee be tasked to do next? Can we submit recommendations?
His silence is basically he's admitting to the facts by not showing up if he was notified properly. So if he can't dispute that whatever happened, I mean the pictures are very clear that there was a bite. But yeah, he just can't dispute any of the facts or defend himself because he chose not to show up. He also has the ability to appeal the decision within, I believe it's 10 days if he does not like the results of whatever you guys decide.
Okay. Now, do I hear a motion from one of the commission on this specific case?
I make a motion that this dog be deemed as dangerous.
Counselor Edwards has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fleming. I'm going to take a roll call vote, starting with Counselor Edwards. Counselor Edwards, on the dangerousness of this animal?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johns, absent. Commissioner Landry?
Yes.
Yes. And myself, yes as well. So a notice will go out to the owner that the dog has been deemed dangerous. And as Attorney Shuchek said, they will have a 10-day appeal period.
Are there anything else you'd like to order? There's a bunch. There's listed in 110-10. There's some things that you can order as the board if he's dangerous, that he be humanely restrained. That's number one. That he be confined to the premises of the owner, all up through to euthanasia. So there are a bunch of options there, or just so that's you can do that as well.
Gladys, would it be appropriate to hear from Ms. Swanson or TJO as to their suggestion regarding those portions of the conditions of 110?
Yeah, I would think so. Yes, they are the dog experts in this room and in this board. So I think that would be appropriate, Melvin, or Counselor Edwards. I apologize.
That's all fine. Melvin's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with the commit. This is a dog that does seem to have multiple offenses, and I think the appropriateness is for a dangerous dog is appropriate. I guess it's up to the committee as to whether or not they feel like this dog can be contained safely and kenneled only and put that into place. I don't think euthanasia is out of the question with the extreme nature of these attacks. So it's surely up to the committee to determine that, but I think at a minimal, having a kennel in place with the appropriate guidelines that would be deemed, I think they're listed elsewhere, up to euthanasia. This dog clearly, when he has gone after people, it has been very severe.
Do we have a recommendation on any additional?
Question for Attorney Shuchek. If I were to make a recommendation of euthanasia, do I have to give any conditions or reasons for the recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty clear. But if you would like to do that with the recommendation, based the reasoning, can be the multiple attacks or whatever. Like
Well, based on the fact that this is not a singular incident, this is a multiple attack involving this animal, my motion is to euthanize.
The motion's been made by Counselor Edwards to euthanize the animal. Do I hear a second? Again, I say second, Commissioner Fleming. A roll call vote is in order on euthanizing it. What is the name again, Officer Robichaud? Z-Blue?
The dog's name is Z-Blue. It's Z-E-B-L-U.
Okay, B-L-U.
And that was confirmed via a rabies certificate sent by the owner.
So on the motion to euthanize Z-Blue, also known as the Walmart Boston Road dog, the roll call vote starting with Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
Commissioner Fleming. Commissioner Johns. Absent. Commissioner Landry.
No.
No. And myself. Yes. So the majority of the commissioners in agreement. And Attorney Shuchuk or Officer Robichaud, once this termination has been made, is the 10-day appeal period still in order?
Yeah, the appeal period is still the same, regardless of whether it's, what decision you made.
Okay. And that being said, does the notice go out from the TJO or does that go out from the law department? You're muted, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that would be TJO.
Okay.
Yeah. And it wouldn't hurt to have this come from the clerk as well.
Okay, that's noted. So the next item on the agenda is 38 Malcolm Road. It's also a dangerous dog hearing. Do we have anyone who is here as a complainant on the Malcolm Road? If so, if you could raise your hand and I will unmute you. Okay.
My phone is gonna die, but I'm trying to get in. I need to be let in from another device.
Well, you're on. So are you on for the 38 Malcolm Road?
Yes, but the phone that you're watching me on is gonna die. I'm waiting for the host to let me in on another.
On an iPhone, it says iPhone.
Yes.
Okay, I'm letting you in right now.
Okay.
It looks like one of our commissioners is also trying to log in.
I'm there.
It just has to shut one of them down. The one.
Yeah, I just muted.
Okay.
That one. Okay, perfect. Commissioner Johns, is that you? Well, until she's unmuted and can connect, I have Evan Earl Kerlock. Is that correct, Junior? You're unmuted, I believe. We can't hear you. I don't know if anyone else is having trouble hearing her, but I cannot hear her.
Can't hear her.
I also cannot hear her.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the gentleman who's in his car in the blue.
Hi.
Okay, hi. So you are here on the same 38 Malcolm Road?
Yeah, those are my animals.
They're your animals. Okay, so we're going to hear from the complainants first. So is anyone else here?
Gladys, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner, I'd like to just know that we've taken up the first two agenda items, and I'm just going to mark you as present. 10:25. Is there anyone else here on the complainant side for the 38 Malcolm Road? Yeah. I know you are, but we can't hear you. Is there anyone else here aside from?
Can you call in maybe and not do it on Zoom so you can actually get some hear you guys, like call the number?
Yeah, the link that you were provided will have a call-in number that you can call in and be viewed by the computer as well.
Yeah, or you can you can type it up too. That's a message from Amber to everybody. So your decision if you want to call in and explain it, which may be easier, or kind of like instant message it.
Or if they put them on speaker, if they can just call in and put on speaker, we could see them, but we could hear the sound from the phone. Yeah,
that sounds like probably the best bet, because I think it'd be better to hear you guys rather than you dictate it.
Sounds like it looks like she's trying to say something.
She's trying to say something, yeah.
I think she has her phone out.
Hello? Hello?
I can.
We can barely hear you.
Yeah, just definitely
turn up your volume.
Yeah.
They're talking to us.
Yes.
Go. I think I
better.
can hear you guys now. There you go.
Better? Okay, good. I am Richard. Good.
Now I lost you.
It's very spotty.
Definitely, I would call the number that's on there.
Here. I'm going to include my office number here in the chat. Perfect. And if you could just call the office number, I'll try to accommodate by putting you on speakerphone. And I appreciate everyone's patience. As I said, this is the first meeting we've held in some time, and I think it's important that we have everyone be heard today and not continue it.
Just getting the rust off, that's all.
Hello?
Hello, I'm Lisa Haygood. I'm here with Mr. Irvin Hitlock.
Can everyone hear them okay?
Yes.
Great.
I made the complaint because I'm.
Can you mute the computer? I'm just lowering the volume until we can figure out this echo.
Okay. Is that better?
Can the host just mute everyone? Just force mute.
Everyone's muted. I think there must be something on in.
He had on another computer and he just turned it off. Are we better now?
Your computer that you're working from, Ms. Haygood, if you could mute that computer as well.
Okay, can they hear it?
Hello?
Much better.
Okay.
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 Now, phone or the computer?
Hey, just shut your computer off because we can talk to you over the phone. We'll be able to hear you if that's okay.
Okay. No, they want it on the phone. They said to turn off the computer so they won't get the.
Yeah, shut your computer off and speak. We'll have you on speaker at the. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get the echo.
Okay.
Yeah, shut your computer off and call. That might be the easiest way. Like exit Zoom and shut your computer off and call the number that the clerk gave you. We shouldn't be seeing you still. Your computer should be shut off. There we go.
Okay. There you go. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, so I'm sorry for the confusion.
No, not at all. I'm going to try. Just give me one moment because I'm going to put you on as the volume as loud as it'll go. And then before either of you speak, I'm going to ask both you and Mr. Kerlock, if do you declare that and affirm that all the evidence that you are about to give is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm Lisa Haygood, the daughter of Otis Rutherford and Beatrice Rutherford at 47 Malcolm Road, directly across the street. My main concern is the safety of my parents. There's multiple dogs staying at that residence. I don't know if they're getting, I believe their purpose is to breed. I don't know, but there are 7 or 8 of them there. If they're not there right now, it's because the owner moves them from time to time. But they've broken loose on at least 2 occasions, ran across the street to my parents' home and tried to attack my dad in the enclosed breezeway. Thank God he was not outside in the yard. He's going to be 85 years old in a couple of months. And they both have multiple health issues, so I'm a nervous wreck. Because they have to stay in their car when they come back from running errands to ensure that the dogs aren't out. They've been there for almost 60 years. It's ridiculous. It's not a resident, it's a small residential neighborhood, and we have children on the street that can't play outside because of it.
Mr. Carlock, are you also going to speak?
No, I'm just gonna listen right now. I really don't have too much knowledge because I live down the street from the but all the neighbors in the area have complained about these dogs. I've lived there for 30 years. Most of the residents have lived here for 20 years plus. We've never had a problem with animals in the area. A lot of people have dogs. This family moved in last year in September, and since then, the police has been there several times about these dogs. And like you said, now the dogs are to the point where none of the kids on the street are able to go out and go up and down the street because these dogs are constantly getting out. I guess within the last 2 weeks, 3 of them got out and chased the gentleman into his house over on Blunt Road. And,
that's right next door to my parents.
It's right next door to her parents. I wasn't here when it happened, but the police were called again and the police responded. And the reason why you don't have more people here today is because they are terrified of the people that live at that house, and they really don't want any, friction from these people. So they're afraid to speak up. They have spoken to me several times. I am a former police officer, and I told them to call and make complaints, but all the neighbors are terrified of these people, and they really don't want to come out publicly and speak against them because they're afraid of being retaliated by this family or by these animals. So I told them I would kind of like speak in their behalf, and me and her, the young lady here, we're basically the only 2 that were willing to come out and speak on them. I understand that, you have a right to have animals on the private, but when it gets to the point where all the neighbors feel unsafe and they're not being kept properly, and it just becomes a hassle, a nuisance to all the neighbors.
And when I spoke to the commissioner at the Thomas J. O'Connor and an officer on numerous occasions, the response that I basically received was, it's not a threat yet. And I'm like, so we need to wait for one of my elderly parents to be mauled by these dogs? That's just not right. They damaged their property. One of the dogs broke a glass fixture that holds the enclosed breezeway. One of the panel windows, it's out because the bracket was broken off. One of the fences from his little flower bed was trampled. But thank God, again, on those 2 occasions, my dad was inside the breezeway.
Is that all for your testimony?
Yes, and my father was with the other gentleman, the neighbor next door to him on the other side on Blunt Road, who were frightened a couple of weeks ago when they jumped up on their deck and tried to enter their home. And these are not just regular dogs. They're Cane Corso. They're huge attack dogs.
Thank you, Ms. Haygood. Is there anyone else here to speak as a complainant on this specific 48 or 38 Malcolm Road dog? If so, please raise your hand and we'll let you in. Not seeing anyone else. Is there anyone, anything that...
I'm sorry, to interrupt you, I'm sorry. I did go around the neighborhood and secured multiple, which I've sent to you, neighbors' names. They were willing to sign a protest, but again, to piggyback off of what Mr. Kellogg said, I think a lot of people are afraid to get involved. I'm not.
Thank you, Ms. Haygood. I do have the petition or signature list that you're referring to. I believe it was sent to the commissioners, but
yes.
I will resend a copy of that signature list with the names and addresses of the neighbors that were willing to sign on. Is there anything else that Officer Robichaud would like to add before I call in the owner of the dog?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So while I don't dispute that the dogs are loose frequently, unfortunately, our office only has on record one instance where the dogs were called in. Well, we were called to that address for the dogs being loose. We have primarily been responding to the dogs being a nuisance or to well-being check complaints on the animals. And those have been, some have been, you know, founded complaints and others have been unfounded. So we don't have a lot of calls, and it's fair that if the people are fearing for their lives, it's possible that they're not calling because they're fearing retribution or whatever. The only call that we have that was confirmed to be these dogs loose was from April 27th of this year, a report of 4 to 5 dogs loose from that address. When we arrived, there were no dogs loose. There was one dog in an open kennel attached to the rear of the home, and there was 2 dogs in the home that the person who was either caring for the dogs or the children in the house was stating that there were 2 dogs now in the home. So it's difficult because we don't have a lot of evidence of frequently loose dogs. It sounds like possibly the police are responding more often than we might be, but we don't have the evidence of them being frequently loose, just a general nuisance for noise and that sort of stuff. Most of our complaints were barking and crying.
Thank you, Officer Robichaud. I'm going to recognize the dog owner, and I'm going to ask again, Ms. Haygood and Mr. Kerlock. I know it's hard to listen and only on the phone, but having the computer open does cause feedback. And if at any point we do hear that, I'm going to disconnect you, either the Zoom or the phone. So just so that you know, I know you want to respond to Officer Robichaud, but it will be after I recognize the dog owner. So if you could please unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is William Chapman. I reside at 38 Malcolm Road.
Okay, Mr. Chapman, seeing as you are going to be giving testimony, I'm going to ask, do you declare and affirm that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth and the whole truth?
Absolutely.
Great. So the floor is yours. If you could please provide your testimony.
I'm not in agreement with stuff that was said by the people who were represented by the daughter across the street, nor my neighbor down the street. I have young children myself, right? I have a right to have 3 dogs that are intact. I have 3 dogs that are intact. I'm in compliance with everything that Thomas J. and Animal Control come over and investigate and ask of me. Now, at the time when I first arrived there, my dog had puppies. So there were a lot more dogs on the premises than there are now. So I'm kind of at odds with the sentiment that I have 7 or 8 dogs running around wild at all times. My neighbor next to me has a young boy who's always outside since the weather has gotten warm. I have little children myself. My youngest is under 2 years old. He's outside with these animals as well. These animals have no bite record, and they've only gotten unloosed twice. The first time they gotten unloosed, the owners got them back in the house. Now, they did go across the street, and the elderly man, I'm not going to get on here and disrespect my elders. I have an extreme amount of concern for my elderly neighbors across the street. In fact, one day, the elderly man across the street was trying to load a riding lawnmower on the back of his flatbed, and it was falling on him, and his wife was watching in horror. I ran across the street, picked up the lawnmower, and loaded on the back of his flatbed myself.
Can we keep this towards the dogs? I'm sorry. Can we keep this towards the dogs?
I'm making it, well, they painted me as a villain, sir. They painted me as someone that they're scared to talk to, and they're scared of retaliation. I and my significant other aren't that type of people, so I have a right to defend that. And quite honestly, I went across the street and I offered that man my number. He rather call animal control than call me, the owners. If it's believing my dogs are a bite risk, wouldn't you want the owners to come out and retrieve them rather than animal control? The last time animal control was called, the officer quoted the date, it was in April. The dogs got out, they went nowhere near his residence because my neighbor across the street called me and said, "Oh, you know, the dogs have gotten out." And I said, "No, I didn't know." So I called my daughter and she immediately went outside and got the ones that were loose. One never got out. The others were loose. She went and got them without incident. These dogs are not biters. These dogs are friendly, socialized animals. It is not my fault because I walk a larger dog down the street that you sit in the house and you're terrified because you're assuming that they're biters. You know, like this guy, you know, I don't know the assumption, but I know at some point when I had more dogs, you know, I had little puppies crying for food. I come out to feed them and everybody's crying at the same time. Animal control is aware of that. They came out, we walked hand in hand through the whole process. So they even played with the dogs. The police came out and played with the dogs. They complimented me on the well-being of the dogs. There was not one complaint that they came out that was founded other than they might have been making a lot of noise. There were 2 adult dogs and puppies there. And since then, I only have 1 adult and I have 2 pups. They're no longer pups. They're like more like a year old. But people have a right to call Thomas J. when there's something going on. People have a right to call police when there's something going on. You don't have a right to weaponize the police. And like I'm being called, the neighbors call the police constantly. I have a limousine in front of the yard. It's a personal vehicle. They call police constantly, I'm unlocking people's driveways.
Mr. Chapman, Mr. Chapman, if you could just stick to the case of the dogs. Do you have anything else to provide as far as information? No, and I understand. I understand there's a history of calls and complaints.
I will keep. I'm right. I'm not trying to throw allegations around. I'm speaking to the history that I have with my neighbors that I give my number and tell to contact me if there's any problems.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
If you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tania Eddington. I reside at 38 Malcolm Road.
Okay, so Ms. Eddington, I'm going to ask the same of you. Do you declare and affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So the floor is yours.
Okay, we've been harassed since the day we moved in. And I moved in last May until now. The cops have been at my house. Animal control has been at my house. The problem is that these people have been living there for all of these years. And I guess because we're new and we have brought our dogs, I have 4 children that play. I'm not mean. Matter of fact, Mr. Carlock is my sister's grandfather. So I don't understand where they're so scared and afraid of us. Like, what? I don't understand where that's coming from. My dogs have never bothered anybody. They've never bitten anybody. So all of these allegations are from them grouping up because they've been friends forever. They all live there together on us. And it's actually, I've called the cops for harassment because there's no way that my daughter has to answer the door. I have to keep coming. There's always cops and animal control, and it's not fair. And especially, we still have the dogs, so that means the dogs are fine. Animal control is fine. We've been to court. They're licensed, they're registered. There's no problem. I understand there might be a little bit noise than they're used to because we are new to the neighborhood and we are a little bit younger. We do have kids, we do have dogs. But as far as the dogs go, they're not bothering anybody, and they're definitely not biting anybody, and they happened to escape out their cage one time, and that was it. I can't hear anymore.
Muted.
Is that all?
Okay.
Yeah. So, and just so as a point of information, because I feel that at least yourself and Mr. Chapman weren't in on the beginning of the phone call, the role of the Animal Advisory and Hearing Committee is to hear from both sides, and then we would make a recommendation based on the evidence that has been provided. So part of that might be that some of the commissioners would ask additional questions before we take such a vote. And we also ask for recommendations from Thomas J. O'Connor, the officer there, also from Lori Swanson, who is the executive director there, with assistance from Robert Shuchuk, which is the attorney that's representing the city of Springfield. So given that the hearing...
I'm sorry not to...
Go ahead, Mr. Chapman.
May I just note that, you know, I'm a paraprofessional in the town of Amherst. I work with children closely. Like I'm taking time off of work now. And like, I repeatedly have to take time off of work for these concerns that end up being unfounded. And at some point, it becomes harassment. You know, like if they keep putting forth claims, then when animal control comes out and the police come out, these claims are unfounded because these officials come out to verify these complaints and they go unfounded. At what point can I stop? Can we stop this harassment? Like they could easily call me. I'm available to all of my neighbors, and I'm approachable.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. If the commissioners have any questions,
I'm sorry, Glad.
Go ahead.
I think the petitioners have a right to respond, and then the dog owner has another right to respond to that, and then it's the I'm just going by the
sure
we did so. Yeah, so if the petitioners have a response to the dog owners,
Ms. Haygood and Mr. Carlock.
And you don't have to. It's just you have the option to respond to his statement.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Like I said, personally, I've never had any interaction with the people down the street. I've never even had any action with the dogs, period. The only way I hear about this is because my neighbors approach me and they tell me about this. I've never seen the dogs loose. And I've never even heard them barking because I live like 4 or 5 doors down. But my neighbors, for some reason, they approach me because, like I said, I used to be a police officer. So they used to come to me with all their problems, and they still come to me with the problems, like what can they do. I have no personal problem. Like I said, I've never seen the dogs loose, and I've never even heard them. I do see the police down there quite a bit, you know, for whatever reasons. But hey, you know, I tell the people when they approach me, if you have a problem, dial 911 or call 311, and they explain to me why they don't want to do it or why they have done it and so on. I'm here basically today to relay what you people decide to do back to them, to let them know what they have to do. Okay, personally, I have no problem. I mean, the dogs have never been up by my house. I've never seen them loose. Yes, he does walk by my house. I personally do not have a problem with him because I've never had any interaction with him or his dog. So that's basically all I have to say.
Hello. I actually wanted to thank Mr. For helping my dad with the lawnmower, although that has nothing to do with this. I have nothing against he and his girlfriend or wife personally. My concern is my elderly parents. If my parents are bitten, there will be a problem. That is my sole concern. These dogs have gotten out more than once, multiple times, twice at my parents' residence, which is 47 across the street. No, my parents have not called. I have called out of concern for them. They're 78 and gonna be 85 years of age this summer. They have multiple health problems. They're weak and feeble. This dog scared my father, and he's usually a strong man, but again, he's gonna be 85 years of age. So he's always puttering around in the yard. I do not want to hear that my father has been mauled by these huge dogs. I don't care if there's 3 or 2 but I know there's more than 3 dogs there, but it is what it is. And they did get out just a couple of weeks ago at the neighbor's house. I do not know why there is a discrepancy with the Thomas J. O'Connor. I don't know why they do not have record of the multiple emails that I have sent to the commissioner over there. I have correspondence via email with an officer as well. I can send that to you via mail. I've called multiple times as well. Nobody's attacking the neighbors. Nobody's coming up against them other than these dogs don't need to be here if they're breaking loose, which they are. They are a threat.
And does that conclude your testimony, Ms. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman, I'm going to allow you time to speak again. If you choose to, you're on mute at this point.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't want to keep everybody's time, and I don't want to keep repeating the same things. You know, these dogs, all of them, I've raised them from pups. I raised the parents from pups, and I gave birth, or I didn't give birth, but I was like sort of like the midwife when the pups were born. So like these dogs are like my children as well. And I don't think there's a discrepancy. I think we're in agreement as to the last time that got out, like the date that animal control said that they were loose is the date that they were called and they responded. And when they did respond, my daughter was home and had already got the dogs in the house without incident. The neighbors were across the street, right next door to the residence, were on the phone with me, play by play, let me know what was going on. So, you know, everything was all set. I specifically asked, did those dogs approach 47? The woman that that just spoke, her dad told me, no, they went down the street. They went the other way. They didn't come this way. And that was out of his lips. Again, when I got home, he was outside doing what he does in the yard. He does like to be outside often. And if my dog, and he is outside often. If my dogs are always getting loose, he wouldn't be able to do that. And I understand the concern for him. I have just as That's his daughter, but I take his concern, I take his safety just as important. It's just as important to me as it is to her. You know what I mean? I have elderly people in my family, as does I'm pretty sure everybody, and you wouldn't want to hear that your dad has been attacked by the dog again, by a dog. I don't have those type of animals. They're social, so they're not scared to go up to people, but they wouldn't attack and bite someone and you know, at this point, I'm just being repetitive. I do dispute the allegations that I have all these crazy, wild, and loose dogs. And I just do dispute the allegation that I don't care for people in my neighborhood and I'm not approachable. And, I'm willing to work with everyone in my neighborhood to resolve these concerns, just like I'm willing to work with the Springfield Police and Thomas J. O'Connor. Anytime they come out, I've been cooperative. I've taken any recommendations that they have made, and I follow up with them. All the dogs are properly vaccinated and licensed, and I have the adequate number of animals that I'm allowed. I go out of my way to jump through hoops and remain compliant. So if the neighbors I wish the neighbors, for whatever reason, I don't know why maybe I'm a big dog owner and for whatever reason they've chosen to vilify me, but I'm not that person. I work closely with people from all walks of life. Again, I'm an educator. I work closely with kids. I understand these concerns, and I don't want to get on here because I'm on the defense and make it seem like nobody's concern is valid. All these concerns are valid, and I sympathize with my neighbors, but I want to let them know they are in error. They are wrong when they call my dogs vicious and say my dogs pose a threat to safety, and they are even wrong about the number of dogs I had. So you can't get on here and say I don't care whether he has. You testified and you said that you testified and you stated that you're telling the truth, and this is actual testimony against me, and you're stating I have 7 dogs, and when I refute that and say I had 3, now you don't care about the number. That's not valid testimony, and quite frankly, I have to defend myself against those facts that you give. So I would ask those facts to be accurate, and they're not accurate is what I'm saying. But I mean, whatever I could do, I don't feel my dogs should be euthanized. I don't feel my dogs need to be rehomed. But whatever I can do to alleviate some of the neighbors' concerns. And a lot of times it's just a conversation. Like if they would be willing to talk, I'm not going to go on door to door and ring people's doorbell and like force a conversation, but any concerns, you know what I mean? Like if they're willing to talk, especially if it's not a situation where police need to be called or animal control need to be called. If you're outside walking past my house on a nice day or whatever, you can raise these concerns or whatever. But when police come and animal control come, most of these complaints are unfounded.
And it's getting to be a lot. Like to have police and animal control called every other day, it's a lot. I have children. We both have jobs. We want to live. I apologize if we came to the neighborhood and, we're young and we brought maybe a little bit of noise because of the dogs, but they're dogs. Dogs bark. I hear everybody else's dog in the neighborhood barking. I don't really see where the big problem is. And especially for somebody to come say we're bad people and turn around and say you've never had a conversation with us or never talked to us. That's rude and disrespectful. And it feels like harassment. Every time we turn around, there are always cops at our house. And it's not fair because we're not doing anything but trying to live and make a life for my children. I bought a house that it was an accomplishment. I didn't expect to have to deal with all of this. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Eddington. Do any of the commissioners at this time have any questions for either party?
Or TJO for.
Or TJO.
Yeah.
Commissioner Johns, you raised your hand.
Yeah. Renee, when you've gone out to see, or other officers, when they've gone out to see the dogs, did you interact with the dogs?
I have not interacted with the dogs directly. I mean, I've seen them while they're in their kennel, but not like petting and playing with them or anything like that. I do believe at one instance, the puppies, when they were still puppies, were loose. But I have not interacted with the adult dogs. I believe that he kept the male, but had the adult female who was the mom to the puppies may not have been one of the dogs that he chose to keep. So I've only met the adult male and the adult female, but they were in their kennel with their puppies at the time. And I'm not sure. I think
Officer Robichaud, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just going to ask that anyone that is writing in the chat, please refrain from doing so. We only want to hear testimony that's actually given verbally over the virtual hearing. So if you're writing in the chat, do not. I'm sorry, go ahead, Officer Robichaud.
That's okay. Yeah, so as I've mentioned, I have not interacted in person with these adult dogs or the two puppies that he chose to keep. But I have met, while they were in their kennel, the adults. I have not met the two puppies that he kept, and I believe that he, based on the names of the animals, rehomed the mother to the puppies.
Thank you. Mr. Chapman, do you keep the dogs in the kennel? And the kennel, just so I understand, is the garage?
No. So when the pups were born, I had the big space in the garage. So I had the pups and the parents all in the garage. And last summer came and I had an AC unit in the garage that for whatever, we had electrical issue and it would trip frequently. So animal control suggested that would be a concern, the high temperature. So I bought the dogs in the house, and I dedicated a room for them in the house. So in the house, they have the room, and then when they go outside, they have their confines in the backyard, which is referred to as their kennel.
Okay. So they sleep in your house at night now?
Yes.
Okay. And you have kept the adult male?
I have the adult male, and I have two of his daughters.
Okay. And are you going to continue to breed?
So I have no plans on continuing to breed. No, not after what this neighborhood put me through. I mean, with my rights to breed, but I have no desire to go through that again with these neighbors.
Okay. And you wouldn't breed the father with the puppies, absolutely, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. That's all I have. Just wanted clarification on, are they really your pets? Do you keep them in the house?
These are pets. These are pets.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But these are pets.
Thank you. I'm finished.
Does any one of the other commissioners have Commissioner Landry? If you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chapman, do you know how the dogs got out the first time?
So when they got out, they have gotten out twice, right? When they got out the first time is when I had all the pups and they were able to get through a smaller space in their enclosure. Now you didn't ask me, but the second time they got out, I believe My son was the last one to feed and clean their area, and I don't believe he closed the door adequately. You know, okay. So because when I arrived home after being notified, when I arrived home from work, I checked their area, and there was no possible way they can get out other than, human error.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
If I can just speak real quick. I did see both sets of kennels. I saw the kennels when the dogs were living in the garage. And then when we were out the most recent time, when they did get loose, the time that William is confirming they did get loose, it's not a great picture, but the kennel space that they have is very large. It's a very large space, and it is two separate kennels. And I believe it was one was for the dad and the other was for the two girls. So it is a very, like, even though they're saying a kennel, it's not like a crate that they're being kept in. It's a large, two separate large, probably about 10 by 10 fenced areas with a covered roof so that they have shade. So it isn't like they're being kept in like a tiny kennel run. It is a significant amount of space that these dogs do have because they are large. So I just wanted the committee and everyone to know that it is not, just to make clarification, because someone asked about the kennels, it is not a tiny, like a dog crate or anything like that they're being kept in. It is a large fenced area in the back of the yard.
And Renee, can you email that picture just for the record?
Do you want me to email it to you?
No, just to Gladys.
To Gladys, okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. Or and any pictures moving forward for anybody, if you can, that aren't already in the record, if you could just email them over. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Robichaud. Does anyone else have any questions? Any of the commissioners, should I say, have any questions of Mr. Chapman or Ms. Haygood? Hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing. And at this time, I'm going to ask if there is a motion on the floor regarding the 38 Malcolm Road dogs.
And the options are deemed dangerous, deemed nuisance, or none of the above. If they're deemed dangerous or nuisance, there are those options that are available that were emailed a little while ago by Gladys. All right.
You are muted, Councillor Edwards.
I'd just like to make a comment before entertaining a motion and simply state that I don't believe that there's sufficient, in my opinion, I don't believe there's sufficient evidence to suggest these dogs are dangerous in terms of being, or even as a nuisance generally. I think just the fact that they have a hearing and that everybody's had a chance to speak on it suggests that there may be a lack of communication, but I think the owners are aware of potential nuisance of these dogs, as the complainants might suggest. It is a potential for a dangerous hearing, a dangerous ruling. In the future, if these dogs continue to get out, then it could be deemed nuisance. In my opinion, they're not a nuisance. It's just human error or whatever suggests that there's not enough evidence to deem these dogs a nuisance, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. But I make a motion that none of the above, or that they're not deemed a nuisance.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor from Councillor Edwards to deem the dogs at 38 Malcolm Road to not be a nuisance. That motion was seconded by Commissioner Landry. A roll call vote is in order. Councillor Edwards on the motion?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Johns?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Landry?
Yes.
Yes, and my vote is yes as well. So the dogs at 38 Malcolm Road have been deemed not to be a nuisance at this time. I encourage Mr. Chapman, Miss Eddington, Mr. Kerlock, and Miss Haygood that at any time, if any other issues arise at 38 Malcolm Road or in the neighborhood with these dogs, to please contact Officer Robichaud or Ms. Swanson at TJO. Again, also Officer Fleming is also available to be contacted so that we can make sure that this continues to be the case. We thank you for your attendance at today's meeting. And if you have any further questions, please note that you will get a written finding from this meeting today, and it'll be mailed to you, both parties. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact my office as well.
And also, may I add, if there's other incidents, they would have 30 days from the incident to file anything. So it's they can't just have something that happened a while ago. It has to be within 30 days of for it to be deemed relevant per the ordinance.
Did you both understand? Yeah, Attorney Shuchuk's motion?
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Hi, I've got a question.
Mr. Wong?
Yes. Going back to the first case regarding to Walgreens, the Walmart, my wife would like to add a couple of questions to the chat. Is that okay?
It is not. If you would like, Mr. Wong, if she has any questions, she can feel free, or you can feel free to send an email to Officer Robichaud. I believe you have her email. Okay. And then we'll get that information back to you, if that's okay with you.
So you consider that case closed at this point?
Yes, correct.
Correct. So, sorry for over.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just apologizing to Gladys for speaking over her.
No, your help is more than welcome. Okay. So the first, second, and third items on the agenda have been covered. So we're moving on to the next item. So anyone that is here for the first three can disconnect if you choose to do so. You can also continue to be in on the meeting, but you will be muted.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 24 Thornton Street, and the commission to let the commissioners know that this item on 24 Thornton Street will be continued to a new meeting. The petitioner cannot do Zoom, so she has requested that we hold an in-person meeting of the advisory and hearing committee, and we will do so at a later date. At the end of the meeting, I will email all the commissioners to ask for their availability. So
excuse me.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry. The tenant, like the dog owner and myself, were not notified of that. So we've been sitting in this meeting for an hour and 15 minutes with no notice.
Okay.
There's also a dog walker and another witness that are present. So 4 people took off the day from work to attend this meeting. We've been.
I'm sorry, you're muted.
It says you are muting me.
Go ahead. No,
it says you're muting me. So 4 people are in attendance in this meeting for this specific case, and we were not notified that that was the case. We all took time off from work to be here, and I'm wondering if it's possible for us to do our part. Understandably, why they can't attend via Zoom, but we already took the time off to be here. So is it possible to do our portion of this?
I'm going to defer to Attorney Shuchuk for his response from the law department, please.
Yeah, unfortunately not. They would have to, if they were notified that they can redo the hearing at a different date. So
I guess I just don't understand how we were not notified as the other portion of this.
Unfortunately, they just notified us prior to the meeting, literally 5 minutes before the meeting, because they could not attend via Zoom and have no way of actually logging into the meeting or doing anything virtually. So she requested an in-person meeting.
So, but shouldn't and couldn't that have been put out an hour and 15 minutes ago?
Sure, should have.
Yes.
Okay. So this is very frustrating. I am hours away and will not be able to attend this in-person meeting. So I am requesting that there also be a Zoom option during that. Okay.
It'll be a hybrid meeting. The in-person piece will be for anyone who wishes to be present in person.
Okay.
It'll be a hybrid option. And my apologies that, again, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, this is the first meeting I have run of this advisory committee. And my intention is to be able to give everyone the opportunity to be heard, including the dog owner and the petitioners. So in this instance, I tried to compel her and walk her through the process of logging on virtually. There is another case at the very end at 115 Bulat as well, where the petitioners have asked for special ADA attention. So they are hearing impaired and cannot make it via Zoom either, and will be requesting in-person or a hybrid option at that same meeting. So the 115 Bulat, which has not been heard, and the 24th Thornton Street, which have not been heard, will also be a hybrid in-person and virtual meeting.
So is there a way with something like this where the person who is making the complaint and requesting this with no grounds to their complaint, and the animal control officer has been there, as well as the police and other members of the community, is there any way for this to be, I guess, removed from your docket? Otherwise, no. Okay, I see. It'll be
continued, so it won't be removed. But we can take. One of the commissioners can make a motion to continue it, and a notice.
How soon are you looking to do that? I'm sorry. For the in-person.
A motion will be made to continue, and then there is a window of notification where we will send another notice out to you. It would have to be at least within 2 weeks. That's the earliest.
So in the earliest, be 2 weeks. Okay.
This is Josue with Focus Springfield. If you guys are requesting a hybrid option, that is possible. However, there is a call-in option as well. All she has to do, or whoever the complaint person is, they can just call in with the.
It's an ADA issue though. So,
okay. So
understandable.
Excuse. Can we just get back to the fact that these two will not be heard? I'm going to request a motion from one of the commissioners to make the motion for continuance.
Motion to continue this main item.
Councilor Edwards made a motion to continue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Officer Fleming. A roll call vote is in order for continuance. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johns?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Landry?
Yes.
Yes. And I am a yes vote as well. So the hearing for 24 Thornton Street will be continued. Amber, I think that's who I was speaking to.
Yes,
Amber.
yep.
We will be giving ample notice. What I'm going to ask is if everyone who is on this hearing for the 24 Thornton Street issue can please just raise your hand so that I can make sure that we note your name so that you can be sent the hybrid option as well. Thank you. I see Alicia Vasquez, Nicole Lendenham.
Yes. I also have a participant here with me that was going to serve as a witness, but I can let her know as well.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate your patience. Again, hopefully the next hearing will be less top heavy, so it'll go through a little quicker and it will not be over an hour that you'd have to wait in order to provide testimony. And Amber, if you could provide your last name, please.
Wilson.
Wilson. Thank you.
Gladys, may I make the suggestion that at the next hearing, that be the #1 item? Any items that are passed over from the previous meetings be the first item so that they don't have to sit in the queue?
Yes, definitely. So we will be scheduling the 24 Thornton Street as item #1 and 115 Bulat will be scheduled as #2 once we make a motion to continue that item as well.
Yeah, okay. I think it's continued hearings first and then the new business anyway, but that's a good idea, Melvin. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor.
They do too.
Perfect. Amber, do you have something else? Your hand is up in the...
No, sorry, you just said for us to raise our hand.
Yes, yeah. So we've noted your name and the other participants that will be notified for the next hearing. And so we're moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 5, 162 Cannon Circle. Is there anyone here to speak to that issue? And are you the dog owner or the complainant?
We're the complaint.
If you can please just say your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm David Etheridge, live at 162 Cannon Circle in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay. Mr. Etheridge, I'm going to ask you to also, do you declare and affirm that the evidence that you shall give is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You can go ahead.
All right, so here is my daughter Jessica, who unfortunately was the one who was attacked and bitten. On your end, do you have the pictures? Because I can screen share on my end if you'd like me to.
Let me do you have them on your computer that you'd like to screen share?
I got you right now.
Okay, so let me give you that option because I do have them, but I'd rather.
If it's easier for you, if you have them, go for it, because then I can, explain what's going on.
It's on the agenda, so let me just scroll down. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
If there are any additional pictures, just let us know. We'll just have to put them in the record.
Of course, I don't think there's any additional. There might be one, but I'll just have to check back because I have the email, so I can see what I already sent. And then you figure out what I didn't send, or
all right, go from sounds good.
Sound like but yeah, so while that's going through, so the first incident happened on March 9th. There are 2 images. Once we get to that point, then I can point them out. Where we live in Spring Meadow Apartments. It's an apartment community that's split up into 5 different circles. We reside in the first circle. The incident that takes place with the dog in question, that dog resides in the 4th circle. I want to say there's probably a football field and a half of distance between where we reside and where this is taking place, right? So on March 9th, the first incident took place where my daughter Jessica was just hanging out with her friend, this dog, who lives over in that 4th circle. This dog, Scoob, just charged at her, jumped on her, scratched the heck out of her legs, and bit her arm. The arm didn't really puncture the skin because she was wearing a long sleeve and a hooded sweatshirt like I'm wearing right now. So luckily that kept it from, puncturing, but it was definitely indented enough to, break the blood vessels because it was instant. Got you. Instant bruising. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up the pictures here. 429-068. Okay. I'm used to seeing this done on the other end. I hope I know how to do this on my end.
Continue with the testimony as you're doing that, please.
I'm looking for it. I minimized Zoom and now it won't open back up. There we go. Okay. Share screen and image. All right. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. So that was through the sweatshirt. So that's her arm. Let me get the other image that'll show you her leg. 1 second. Come on. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate back and forth here. And okay, so this one coming up right now is her leg. So as I mentioned, this all happened March 9th. Dog ran at her, jumped at her, scratched her leg, and bit her arm completely, just out of nowhere. So that's that one. And we went to the hospital. We weren't sure, obviously, like, you know, if the dog was going to be immunized or not. So we took the precautions. They started the treatment. I have everything right here, the discharge papers, all the information here. So per the recommendations of the physicians at Bay State ER, they started the regimen right away. And then we waited to see, for our own information, if that dog turned out to be immunized. We got the information from TG O'Connor, the dog was immunized. And at that point, they told us basically, listen, you can continue with the treatment if you want to, but at this point, we're safe to say you don't need to if you don't feel that you need to. So then we have, I know after that, the dog and the family was ordered to quarantine the dog, to keep the dog inside, or at least on a leash if they were to bring it outside to do its business, to use the bathroom, whatever, for 10 days. That would have been started on March 10th, and that would have gone through until March 20th. On March 21st, I might have to look for this image because this might be one I'm not sure is there, but I received information that the dog was out off the leash, and I got the image sent from my daughter, from her friend. And then later on, a couple of hours later, when my daughter went down there, oh, here we go. I have the image right here. So this is in the fourth circle. That's the dog right there, just hanging out by the dumpster. And this was on day 11. So once the quarantine order was up, then the dog was just hanging out doing its thing. This was approximately at like 5:45-ish or something like that. Because then a couple of hours later, I got a message from Jessie. 6:49, she got attacked again. I'm going to pull up that image. Hold on a second. She was sitting outside, just sitting with her friend who lives over there. This one, the dog comes up and goes right after her hand. Not enough force to break the skin, but hold on one second. Where'd it go? There it is. So right in this area here, that bruise here, and then there's also some discoloration right to the left of it, where the dog went on her hand, went down, and like she still has the mark on her hand. So that was March 21st. By the way, each of one of these incidents, I called TJO, and then this final incident, I had it. My patience was out. And the reason being is because not only is this dog continuously off the leash, but I kind of got frustrated with the fact that even after the first incident with the dog attacked my daughter and drew blood, all they said was, we're going to put the dog back inside and just tell the owner to keep the dog inside for 10 days. Where's the logic there? So anyway, March 24th, the third incident, which really never should have happened in the first place, right? Moving on. Where is it? This one here. So this one, the dog bit her on the thigh. Somebody had to pull it all off. And someone had to pull the dog off. In 1 second to share this one. And these two marks here, which just kind of look like vampire bites. Sorry for the metaphor. That's where he latched on. And she's wearing clothing. I think that day she had sweatpants on or something like that. So enough layers to keep the dog, fortunately enough, from providing enough pressure to puncture the skin. That's my statement when it comes to the incidences that have happened with my daughter here. To furthermore explain, TJO has also told me what I'm about to tell you as well. From many of my neighbors here and some of the office associates who work for this community have told me that there has been several complaints of this exact dog in the past, including my neighbor who told me when he was walking his dog, this dog was just, again, not on the leash, which at this point is just not surprising to me anymore, and started to go after his dogs pretty aggressively. So the owner was, according to my neighbor, I don't know, like 50 feet away, and just started going off on him, saying, you know, get your dog away from my dog. This is ridiculous. I know the apartment community office, they're working on, they've been working on something. I'm not exactly sure where they're at right now. It's just, I'm at the end of my patience when it comes to this, because the very last time on the 24th, that dog was almost taken away. Now I'm standing there and I'm a dog lover. I love any kind of animal. And I'm watching the children who this dog comes from, this household, crying. My heart goes out to them because I never want anyone to lose an animal. The thing is that this dog is three unprovoked attacks, continuously off the leash, and not even attacks just on her. It's unfortunate that I've heard of other incidences, and I've reached out to these people saying, hey, listen, please send me a text message with the image of that dog being out, because I have this meeting coming up, or at least I can continuously provide an email, or I can call somebody. I tried calling TJO a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately they turned me away because I got a picture sent from Jessica, which was a picture sent from her friend who lives down in the 4th circle, showing that dog out once again off the leash with no supervision. And I called TJO and they said, well, what time was this? What time did this happen? And I said, I'm not exactly sure of the time frame in particular. I just received the information myself. That's why I'm calling you. And then they told me, well, if he's not out right now, if he's not doing anything right now, then we're not coming out. There's nothing that we can do. I hung up the phone at that point. I didn't want to hear anything. So I just waited for this meeting to take place. So, hi.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else here? I'm just looking at who's in the room, and I don't think there's anyone else here as the dog owner. If I could speak to, I think, Officer Robichaud or Lori, the notice was sent out, I'm assuming.
Yes, the notice was sent out May
9th.
10th via certified mail. And then also a regular copy to the owner and victim in the regular mail.
Yeah, I got mine. They definitely should have gotten theirs.
And just so that you know, Hannah Ornstein forwarded the summary of the incidents with the photos. If the other commissioners have received those, I will not be resending it. But I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Well, this is to Officer Robichaud. Was there any notification to you that they wouldn't be in attendance, that the dog owners would not be in attendance? We didn't receive anything here in the clerk's office. So I just want to confirm for the record that they didn't directly contact TJO.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to close this part of the hearing and allow for any questions of the commissioners to Dave. If there are any questions. Hearing no questions, I will close this part of the hearing, and I want to actually give some time to ask a question to Attorney Shuchuk. Given the fact that the dog owners have not attended, again, I just want to confirm that is well within the rights of this group to be able to make a determination or not make a determination, depending on what motion is forwarded by one of the commissioners on this specific case.
Yeah, similar to the first case, the Boston Road case. If they received notice and they chose not to show up, then anything, they can't really refute anything. So basically whatever David has said is, he can't refute it. So that's what you have to go by, that the only information that was in this meeting.
And she still has the scars if you want to see them.
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
Actually, a question.
Sure.
Of course.
Counselor?
is it appropriate to hear some recommendations or if not, or at least some comments from TJL regarding this incident or the information that they have access to?
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Officer Robichaud?
All right, so, Dave gave a very great basic description of everything that we have on record as far as the bites and non-puncture attacks go. We did have this dog here once in our custody. So it is licensed and vaccinated. That would have been in the vicinity of, well, probably not licensed for this year. I'd have to double check, but it was rabies vaccinated in October of 22.
This is his address.
So it sounds like we've had a couple complaints of the dog just being generally loose, where it has been identified, people saying, oh, that's a dog named Scooby or Scoob. Once in September, but he was gone on arrival, and the difficulty is that the dog is with the distance from how far Cannon Circle is away, if the dog is only being out briefly, a lot of times he's already inside by the time we've arrived. So we have September 23rd of 22, a loose brown dog that it was indicated his name's Scooby, who was gone on arrival. And same situation, he was impounded as a stray, so someone picked him up on October 14th of 22. And that's how we were able to finally get in touch with the owner of the dog. And then jump forward to all the incidents in March where he was apparently just getting loose all the time.
May I interject and ask a quick question?
No.
No, you can't, Dave.
I cannot?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we have the dog bite on the 9th. At the time, we didn't know who the dog was, though we did track down later who the dog was and place him under a home quarantine. Then on the 21st, David did call to report that there wasn't a bite there wasn't a break in the skin, but that the dog had been loose again and scratched his daughter's hand. And then on the 24th, which was a mere 3 days later, same situation, but he scraped her. That was the thigh, right? And again, just basically proving that the dog is regularly loose. The dog was not taken into custody at that time, despite being in the vehicle, because it's not our policy to quarantine dogs in our facility. And we do try to avoid impounding them, especially if they're just going to go straight home. With the dog not being on a quarantine, the dog would just go straight home. So he was just returned to the owner in the field at the time.
I believe, do you have any recommendations? I believe Melvin asked of, based on 110B, of the list of options that you guys would have, based on if it is to be deemed nuisance or dangerous, 1 through 9. I believe that they were emailed earlier today. Basically, that number 1 being that the dog be humanely restrained. Number 2, that the dog be confined in the premises of the owner of the dog, et cetera, et cetera.
You're not muted. Yeah, I think that would be any of those recommendations. So the dog definitely has to be humanely restrained and confined. I mean, clearly this dog is a repeated offender of being loose. So whether or not we go as far as a kennel being constructed, I think that's also up to the committee to determine, but surely this dog is getting loose. And I would go as far as the possibility of constructing a secure kennel.
Lori, could you confirm the owner's name and the address that the dog is supposedly licensed at? I'd like to just look that up because I have access to that quickly where I can just see if they do have a current license for the animal.
Officer Robichaud is looking that up.
Thank you.
So the dog's residence is 460 Cannon. And the owner is Trista Lozada.
Okay, so they haven't updated their license this year.
Yeah, and we encounter that a lot where people get their licenses late in the year and assume that they're good for 1 year. So
their rabies are good through the end of through the middle of October, it looks like. So at this point, given the recommendations from TJO, does a member of the board wish to make a motion on this specific dog?
I make a motion that the dog be deemed dangerous with certain conditions applied. And then like to hear from the committee in terms of those recommended conditions. Certainly muzzled off property, leash. I think the issue related to a kennel might be difficult because this is not a private entity property. This is a complex. So
I agree.
So I know for that they're not going to be able to comply with the existence or creation of a kennel on this property. But I'm willing to vote on other conditions recommended by the other members of the committee, but at a minimum, the dog should be deemed dangerous, just based on the fact that he has multiple bites. He certainly is well beyond the scope of being a nuisance because he's out on a regular basis. And the thing is the leash law in Springfield is anytime your dog is off property, unless it's in a licensed dog park, it's supposed to be on a leash anyway. I'd like to hear I'd like to hear about the other conditions or recommended conditions, correct? Shushak, you say no?
I'll say no to Dave raising his hand.
That's me.
He wants to speak.
But
your hearing is closed. So
hearing is closed. So this is just the members. I apologize, Melvin.
No, that's fine. His hearing was closed. This is the time for us to make our decisions in contemplation of a decision. But my motion stands as stated.
I would second the dangerous dog motion. I'm not sure about a muzzle. To say whether the dog, I think if it's really aggression, it would be biting more people by now, being in that area. TJO, how was he when he was confined?
He wasn't.
Renee?
You're asking the behavior when the dog was confined. We don't have any evidence that says that we were unable to handle the dog here. So we were able to handle it in our, I don't have any evidence to show that the dog was unable to be handled here.
Okay.
And I would add that this dog, it does seem to be a management problem. So removing the muzzle and the kennel, if you don't do either of those, it's already proven that they have a difficulty keeping their dog on a leash. So I don't know that taking muzzle off the table is going to change anything in the dog's circumstances because the dog's getting loose off of the leash. So.
And actually, I just like to add, just as part of our, comments, is that unfortunately in these situations when dogs have bit people multiple times, with across the city, regardless, there's usually, and this is only anecdotal, but usually dogs bite more people than get reported. And the unfortunate thing is that people get bit They don't call the police. They don't call animal control. So there's no documentation. But in this case, you have 3 documented bites, regardless of if it's just one person. So that would suggest that this dog, unless she has some type of particular characteristic that draws the dog to her, that would suggest that this dog would bite indiscriminately whoever it chose to for whatever reason. But there's no evidence being presented to that fact. But I think that just the fact that it's multiples, and because of where this is a complex, multi-unit complex, very large in scale. So the adding of the muzzle would be appropriate. I mean, it's unfortunate for a dog to have to be muzzled when he's off property, but if he's getting out on a regular basis, and it's also the fact that we don't know how many other bites, but I don't have confidence that a dog that bites somebody but has 3 confirmed bites hasn't had other bites that just haven't been reported.
And if it's not being kept on lead now, stipulating a muzzle and being on lead, I don't see much difference in that they're going to comply. So the dog is definitely.
It's not whether they're going to. If you can't vote based on whether you don't think they're going to comply.
Exactly. Okay.
So
and I go with dangerous dog, but
and that's something that can be discussed right now is the time for deliberation, so we can, state our points of view. But at the time when the motion is made, once we add all of the conditions, you can either vote it up or vote it down based on how you feel at that time. I also agree with Councilor Edwards. I know Cannon Circle. It's multi-units, closely connected. There are also quite a few children in that area. And the concern being that the owner is not here to even give their side of, the story based on this one case. And as Councilor Edwards pointed out, the possibility of possible other incidents that we don't know about. My question is to Attorney Shuchuk and possibly to TJO. Once the determination is made today and the conditions, those apartments, I believe, are part of the Springfield Housing Authority. I'm not sure. If not, there would be privately owned apartments, and a management company. Will the management company be notified of these conditions so that they are aware? Because, ultimately, it also provides a liability to them as, the rental agency or the management company.
Yeah, the owner of the apartment complex should be notified, as well as the neighbors around them per this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the neighbors will also.
They're aware. Yeah. This not the statute. The ordinance requires the neighbors be notified. But I would also add, the company or the management company that owns the apartment complex.
And I understand, Dave, your frustration at maybe wanting to add additional information, but just know once the determination is made, this may work itself.
I don't want to add anything. I need to ask a question, a simple question based upon what Mr. Edwards just said. That's all I want to do is just ask a simple question. That's it. I don't want to add anything. That's all.
Go ahead.
My question is, Mr. Edwards, you mentioned about the leash law. I'm just going to paraphrase the leash law in Springfield, overall Massachusetts. My question is, why were these laws not followed back when this dog was first picked up in September? And then again.
This is not the time for that. So
sorry, but
just so that you know, as a public hearing it is, you don't have the ability to ask questions of the commissioners. And
if he wants to reach out to me,
yes.
I'm sorry, this was more for TJO.
For TJO,
yes. But that's the type of question that you can have with them, or you could have with me, but it's not as part of the hearing. It's very simple answer is that enforcement of laws across the city, just because it's on the book doesn't mean it gets enforced. So this is not germane to this particular issue. If you see somebody throw a piece of trash on the ground, there's a fine attached to it, but it has to be enforced. Speeding, any other thing like that. But that's just reach out afterwards for those types of questions.
And further, if they don't witness the dog without the leash, you know, just you saying it's kind of hearsay. So they would have to actually witness the dog without a leash themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Shushek. Attorney Shushek. Yes, actually correct too.
Okay, so going back to the motion that's on the floor and conditions, right now it's the motion, it's my understanding is deem this particular dog dangerous and with the stipulation that it be leashed and muzzled. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's 1 and 2 of the one is is muzzling. What number is that? Just so we know for sure.
Attorney Shushek, could you just run down so everybody's on the same page what the conditions are that are available to us?
Yep. The ones that are available are, again, it was emailed. It's 110-10 Part B. 1, that the dog be humanely restrained. 2, that the dog be confined to the premises of the owner of the dog, provided, however, that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owner, provided, however, that such confinement shall comply with 110-8 of this chapter. 3 is that whenever the dog is removed from the premises of the owner, the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a leash having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length. So that was 3 that you mentioned, Melvin. I'm sorry, Counselor Edwards. I always, number 4, that the animal shall be surgically sterilized and microchipped with a microchip registered to the city with all costs associated with these services to be borne by the owner. 5, that the owner construct within 2 weeks from that, but I believe that's off the table, so it's a long paragraph. I'm not going to read that one. 6, that the ownership of the dog may not be transferred unless the transfer of ownership is to an adult residing within the same residence, and said dog shall remain housed solely at that residence. 7, that if the owner of the dog fails to appear at a hearing in front of the advisory committee and the dog is declared dangerous, the dog shall be impounded or euthanized. That the dog be humanely euthanized immediately or summarily upon the owner's failure to comply with the conditions imposed. And 9, any other order that the hearing committee deems appropriate or necessary. So that's kind of a catch-all. And that's it.
So there's no specific part of the ordinance that speaks to the muzzling.
Yeah,
but
number 3.
Put that at number 3. Is that?
Yeah, is that whenever the dog?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's muzzled and it has a 300-pound strength lead.
So based on the recommendation by Counselor Edwards, we're looking at 1,
2, and 3, I believe.
2 and 3. Okay. I'm just taking notes here.
Is that fair to say, Counselor, that 1, 2, and 3 of the? Yes, I'd also entertain a motion regarding the neutering of the dog, but that's for the. I'd like to hear from somebody else on that part.
He's already neutered.
He is neutered, and just 2 and 3. That I'm.
Is he microchipped as well? I'm sorry. Is he microchipped?
That I don't know. Officer Robichaud, is that something that you can quickly?
We're looking that up right now.
Thank you.
Quickly.
If he's not, whether he is or not, I would recommend that be included as well. So it doesn't.
Yes.
So if he is fine. If he's not, it should be included in the motion.
What number is that, Attorney Shuchuk? I'm just looking through the order.
So 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. Okay. So just to reiterate, the motion on the floor is that this dog shall be deemed dangerous, and that under the dangerous dog ordinance, the recommendation from the board is that 1, 2, 3, and 4, meaning the dog be humanely restrained, and all of the other items that Attorney Shuchuk read be conditions for this dog to be able to be kept. And it's going to be mailed to the dog owner, to the management company, and to the neighbors. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Just as an update, the dog is microchipped. I guess the one thing that we could do is file to make sure that the registration is up to date and accurate, because many times it's not. So I would think that would be the only other thing that we would add to that the registration is up to date and reflects their current address and information.
That would be included in the motion to amend it to include item number 9. which would be the other catch-all conditions. And I'll amend my motion to include item 9.
Okay, do I have a second for the motion as amended?
What was the number 9? I'm sorry.
The number 9 would be to make sure that the registration for the dog is up to date.
Yes.
Second. Second by Commissioner Johns. A roll call vote is in order. Councillor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johns?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Landry?
Yes.
Yes, and I am a yes vote as well. So that is unanimous on item number 5162 Cannon Circle. And you will receive a copy of the decision as well. Dave. Thank you for appearing before us today.
No problem, and thank you. Is there any sort of like, I'm sorry, one last question, and I'm not going to make anyone mad. When the letter goes out to the owner of the dog, approximately how many days would it take? Because if I or someone else maybe sees that dog out again, I don't want to report it if they haven't gotten that notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just whenever they get it mailed out, Gladys, Madam Clerk.
Well, after this hearing, I'm going to have someone do the minutes for it, and it's going to be pretty immediate. I don't know if as far as the ordinance for notification, if there's something that we need to abide by, but we can make that done. I mean, and this is just my inclination as for any dog hearing. If the dog is considered dangerous, I think it should be incumbent on us as a board to mail it out as soon as possible or email out as soon as possible. So we can have that by this afternoon.
Okay.
So I think it's standard. It's like 2 to 3 days is
okay.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. Again, like I just didn't like if I happen to see the dog out tomorrow, I didn't want to make a big deal of it. You know what I mean? All right. I appreciate the info.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
So the next item on the agenda is a continuance item. So it's for 115 Bulat Drive as well. The mother and daughter that filed the complaint actually asked to come in person. So we're asking to continue this to the next meeting. And again, as Attorney Shuchuk noted, it'll be one of the first 2 agenda items. So if I can actually get a motion from one of the commissioners on continuing the 115 Bulat Drive.
Motion to second.
Motion made by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Commissioner Fleming. A roll call vote is in order, and I will ask Councillor Edwards on the motion to continue.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Fleming?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johns?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Landry?
Yes.
Yes. And yes for me as well. Thank you all for being here today. It was just shy of 2 hours, but I think we've worked all the hiccups out, and I will be emailing everyone individually to see if we can set up another time. Again, it'll be in person, so it can be here at City Hall. We have the ability to use the City Council's back room and their owl so that we can have a virtual meeting hybrid.
And actually, Matt, just as a piece of housekeeping, just encourage people. It's difficult for us who are doing these Zooms on a regular basis, but you're dealing with the public now. And as you saw, anybody who is not completely comfortable doing that should be encouraged to come in and use in person and utilize the hybrid. The hybrid should be a courtesy and ease, but respecting people generally in the public who don't do this on a regular basis. Just encourage them or give them the option to be able to come in person would be my recommendation.
Duly noted. Thank you, Councillor. So I'm closing the meeting now at 12 noon exactly.